Assalamu alaikum everyone, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today what we plan to do is basically do a quick lab. I made a couple of notes to basically be very clear as to what our agenda is going to be for today. This lab will basically to take 1 minute interval snapshots of volume created in EC2 using serverless Lambda function. I'm just going to fix the spelling here. First step would be to create SNS topic. And in then SNS topics, we're probably going to go just do some type and display name, create subscription, pretty simple, straightforward. Also, we will be talking about SQS topic. We'll create an SQS queue. And then after that, we will join that SQS queue to SNS. And the next step would be to create a Lambda function. And once we create the Lambda function, we will just quickly go to head over to EC2, create a volume. And then once we create a volume, we will make sure that we copy that volume name, and then we go to Lambda, and basically we will just ensure that the code are copied. The code I got it off internet, and then what we're gonna do is once we have that code inside the Lambda function, we will create a trigger that will trigger the Lambda function to take snapshots off a volume that I created earlier. So it does simply, we can either use Lambda to create a trigger, or the fastest way would be to go to CloudWatch. And then once you get to CloudWatch, we schedule every 1 minute interval and we'll create a couple of triggers to Lambda trigger and SQS trigger, so that every time in 1 minute Lambda would take a snapshot, and then also an SNS will send a massive notification saying that a volume has been taken. Okay, so after that it's pretty simple. I'll show you how the volume basically get created, and then also how the snapshot are being taken every time, every minute of the trigger function that is used by Lambda. Okay, so let's head over there. Okay, so welcome back everyone. So right now I'm already logged into AWS Management Console. We can see a couple of items that are already listed here in our dashboard. What we're going to do is we'll try to basically, I think it's better to just keep open some of the tabs that we will be using. Let's keep open this tab. Actually, one thing that I want to do first is just want to make sure that you are in East Virginia region, not any specific reason, but I think I like East Virginia because that's the place where you get more functions available, and the connectivity is pretty solid. Once you get here, again, we're just going to do another notification. We will go with SQS, simple queue services, and then we'll also use Lambda. We'll use EC2, and then we'll use our CloudWatch. So these are the things that we're gonna do. Simple notification. As you can see that actually, you know what? Let me give you something else. Let me pull this up here. So when I passed my certification for AWS Solution Architect, I actually studied off. This is my OneNote. It has all the topics that I've done so far in terms of my technical knowledge goes. What I would do is I actually did study off a Cloud Guru, an excellent course to take. I highly recommend to definitely take, if you get a chance, take a look at it. I think Ryan has done a great job to explain every single angle of it. I apologize. I actually had to take a screenshot of the slides that he did, because I feel like that's so amazing. So let's quickly go through some of them. I'm not going to take too much time because I don't want to get stuck with theory here. I just want to do a quick lap and move on. So let's start with that. Amazon, what is SNS? Amazon Simple Notification Service. Amazon SNS is a web service that makes it easy to set up, operate, and send notification from the cloud. It provides developers with a highly scalable, flexible and cost-effective capabilities to publish messages for an application and immediately deliver them to subscriber or other applications. So basically a pub sub, if you have heard about publisher and a subscriber. So I, as a publisher, would publish any sort of notification, and the subscriber will get an email, just like a simple like email service that you sign up, that you every new deal that goes out, you being a subscriber, the retail company would push it out, and you will receive that email saying that, hey, you know what, these are the deals, you can subscribe and whatever. Push notification, basically you can see everything is being push notification. SQS, I have some more theory here, but benefits, let's quickly talk about benefit. Instantaneous push-based delivery, simple API and easy integration, flexible message delivery, inexpensive pay-as-you-go model with no upfront cost, web-based AWS management, and then this is SNS, so let's quickly see if we can get you SQS as well. Okay, SQS is basically a web service that gives you access to a message queue that can be used to store messages while waiting for a computer to process them. It is this distributed queue system that enables web service application to quickly and reliable queue messages that one component in the application generates to consume by another component. Temporary repository for messages that are waiting the process. It's a pull message are 256 KB in size. It can be up to 14 days. Once we get to the lab, I will show you what it means. Default retention period is 4 days. These are the types, as I mentioned, standard queue and FIFO queue. Visibility timeout is amount of the time that message is invisible, and then maximum up to 12 hours. And also one of the feature is SQS guarantee that your message will be processed at least once of the request. Okay, so enough theory. I don't want to bore you. You can go ahead and read it. Feel free to reach out to me. I can explain a little bit more. Let's go back to the SNS web, the site, and here you can see, let me make it a little bigger for you guys to see. So it is basically a different type of A to A to P, application to a person. We'll just do an A to A. Let's do A to A. As I mentioned, that there's a publisher and there's a subscriber. So basically a publisher you would basically put in SNS topic, and then either subscriber would be a Lambda, SQS, HTTP request, and so it's just like getting a message from the system. So what first step to do is to create a topic. Once we get to creating a topic, all you need to do is just hit create. Ignore this KMS error. This comes in. You would select either first in, first out. It depends on what you're looking for and how much throughput of that message. We'll just go through with the standard one where simple a Lambda HTTP function, at least one delivery. Name, I would just say an SNS Lambda test, or I would just say Hamad. My name, I'll put my name. Okay, now we just get here, put a topic, and then all you need to do is create topic. Once you hit create topic, that's it. Over here, next page is basically you need to make sure you have is subscribed to, this topic is subscribed to some sort of service. Either it can be email, it can be phone number for a text message, or even SQS. We'll do email as well as SQS, but just for push notification. So let's create a subscription. Over here you can see the ARN number already populated. I guess you can just go here and you can, there are other people who also created. So I'm just going to find out my name, and I'll just select here and do HS here. And then protocol. There are different type of protocols. You can do Amazon Kinesis Firehose. I think one of the, this is for big data. So mostly clickstream, you can get through a lot of data that comes in every click. It process, the Lambda can process, or even SQS can process those requests. This is another exercise. I think I can try to get you guys a lab on that as well. I think I have a lab on already. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we'll just right now we'll just do email. You can do SMS as well over here for your cell phone, but I just think it's better just to take email because it's easier for me to show you guys. Later on, we will add SQS once we get the SQS topic created. So let's hit create email. Type in whatever your email is. I would say hs@gmail.com. And then what you do is we'll just go ahead and hit create subscription. Here you go, we're all set. Now the next step over here, you can see that it says pending confirmation. What we had is we created a subscription topic. We created a topic, now we created a subscriber, and now that subscriber is receiving an email from the system saying that, hey, you know what, somebody has requested for some sort of message system. So what I need to do is I need to go to my email, and I would check whether I am getting any email from this is a preview message that is came in. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there you go. So there's an SNS-LAMBDA-VOLUME-SNAPSHOT function that I created. As you can see, this is how emails look. All it says that, hey, you know what, somebody has subscribed, name this function, please hit confirm. Once I hit here confirmed, that means that that is we are connected, subscription completed, and you know, all good. So we hit here, we go back to our SNS. So you still says pending. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this page so that it can confirm that, you know, it's been handshake has been done between the subscriber and the topic publisher. Okay, so this is done. Next step would be to create SQS. So we will quickly go to SQS. As I mentioned, SQS is also a messaging queue. Amazon SQS provide queue for high throughput system. So system messaging, you can use queue to decouple heavyweight process and to buffer and back work. Amazon SQS stores messages until microservices and serverless application process. So here is a quick diagram. Over here, this method is mostly for producer and consumer. Messages are sent from application, microservices, and other AWS services. It can be any microservices, even containers as well. SQS, and then, you know, SQS queue stores messages and wait for consumer to pull. And then once the messages are processed by the application, Lambda function or EC2 instance and other services. So let's quickly go to create a queue here. Over here, same thing. We have different types like standard and FIFO. Once a delivery, best effort, first in, first out, whatever message comes in. First in, first out, mostly these things. This one actually used a lot, being used by Kinesis, the sysstream. Whenever the clickstream comes in, it translates the data and move it up to next level. So we'll just keep it basic, and we'll just create SQS, I would say Lambda, and then HS. Just making over here, I believe in earlier I mentioned that, you know, minimum default period is 4 days. You can go up to 15 days, as I think I mentioned you guys up here that, you know, here 14 messages can be kept in the queue for 1 minute to 14 days. The default retention period is 4 days. So you can see up here, pretty straightforward. Access policy. In over access policy, there are two types of policies, basics and advanced. For simple criteria to define a basic access policy is defined here. You can always do advanced as well. Advanced is more like JSON. You can just cut and paste the JSON. If you are good with JSON, you can just create your own advanced JSON policy and start pasting and use this for SQS. We'll just go with basic right now. Over here, we also already defined the queue owner can send messages to the queue. Also we're going to define who can receive the message, only the queue owner, which is what we did at this time. Okay. Next thing, we'll go and we'll hit create queue. Once we hit create queue, there we go. We got a queue created. Now, You can send and man receipts. You will get messages up in your email. But for now, we'll just create a subscribe to Amazon SNS topic first, and then we'll go with the other topics as well. Over here, just hit over here. You just hit subscribe to Amazon SNS topic. Drop down here. You should see your name here. There you go. You got my name here. The function, the SNS topic that we created. We hit save, and then that's it. We are assigned here. So what we did was SNS topic was added to HS. It should populate in our SNS. So we just gonna go up here. We click here. This is SNS. We're gonna click onto the function that I created, the notification I created. If you scroll down, you can see that when we created the SNS, we joined the SNS. Sorry, when we created the SQS, we joined the SNS-SQS to SNS, and you can see the SNS now have like it's another subscription that is connected. So now what's going to happen is every time a function is triggered, SQS would also generate an email that will generate a message that will go through email, and that will receive by me. Okay, so we'll go next. I'm gonna quickly pause this for a second so that this fire brigade goes away. I would say fire truck and police car. All right, welcome back. It seems a pretty quiet time right now. SQS. Now the next step. I'm just gonna quickly glance here. We have so far done over here till 3. We have joined SQS to SNS. The next thing would be to create a Lambda function. Okay, we'll go up here. As you already know, I opened all the tabs, just easier for me to work through. Now we'll create a Lambda function. Once we create a Lambda function, it can be 4 different, there are some blueprints already pre-made Lambda function that you can use. I have done this Kinesis Firehose through Node.js. It's getting syslog through JSON, and then there are other stuff like you get S3 get object through Python, and then there are some container image that you can pull from image, or you can create your own serverless rep. And then what we'll do is we'll just go with this author from scratch. You can hello world, but I think we already have done that many times. So over here we're just gonna do a quick name. I would say Lambda. And I would say HS. I'm pretty bad with the names actually. But anyways, over here, you just need to make sure you have permission for you to ensure that Lambda function can be run. There was a pre-made role that was created in our identity management system. Let's see if I can pull it up. It also depends on the permission. Oh, okay, so I don't have permission right now. Let's go back to the topic. So all you do is just click on permission, existing role, select EBS. EBS is the role that was created in basically IAM. Basically, it tells you that this person has this authority to run the Lambda function. Anyways, I'm just not going to deep dive in there for now. Just going to hit create function. All right, so this is also done. Over here, we have created a Lambda function, Lambda HS. You can actually hit trigger here, and you can use whatever API, IoT, load balancer to do a trigger, and CloudFront. There are some other services that we can use. We're gonna do event bridges, and then event bridges you can hit create rules, new rule, and then you can put in name, patterns, schedule, and then over here you will define time. I think since we are just gonna do for 1 minute and for just now, we'll just stick to what we'll do is actually we'll just use CloudWatch so that you can see CloudWatch as well. And then we will use CloudWatch to build a trigger that will get attached to Lambda function. That's another exercise that can be seen. So we'll just click here. This is CloudWatch dashboard. All you need to do is click on to event rules, and then over here you will hit create rules. Create rule, as I was showing you, when we selected the Lambda, in Lambda we selected event, so hit schedule, and over here you can even do cron jobs. Every 5 minutes it's going to take the job, and it will function the whatever we need to do. We'll do 1 minute here, and then add target. Actually, let's take a step back and let's do one thing here. In Lambda function, once we create the function, we would need the code. This is Lambda, and that Lambda we need to define the code of Lambda. Right now, if I just hit the deploy, this function will just say on the website hello from Lambda. So this is just like a hello world first thing. That what we'll do is we have a pre-made Lambda function. So what we'll do is we'll just copy it from here off internet I have taken. Just copy this, go to Lambda, select this, paste, make sure you have all the, oh yeah, one more thing that you need to do. You want to make sure that you are on the same zone where you're going to be taking snapshot. It says US East 1, so you will also do US East 1. So it makes sense, if it makes sense, because you want to make sure you're triggering a function that is in the same zone. Okay, and you want to make sure you save it. And so the next thing what we'll do is let's actually take a snapshot. So let's just park this for a second here for CloudWatch. I'll just go to dashboard here on EC2. We'll just go to volume, and then once we hit volume, you just need to make sure you create a new volume, and that volume will be will be used to take that volume basically will be used by a Lambda function to take snapshot every 1 minute. The trigger that we'll just create here in a bit. So just simple. We don't need 100 GB. Let's do 20 gig. For the test purposes, you want to make sure it's 1A. Snapshot ID, we don't need it right now. We will create one. So we'll just hit create volume, and then you want to make sure you have this as a reference, because you will specify this volume to be triggered. So as you can see, it is created in the volume section. Go back to CloudWatch. CloudWatch, you want to make sure that you are triggering. There are a couple of triggers that you need to do. First, a target, so that it would create you will create a Lambda function, and target, you'll just select your Lambda that you created. And then for configuration, you'll just use JSON, because we're using JSON. Actually, we just need to make sure we have the format here. Okay, just select this here and go back to CloudWatch. Paste. Sorry, there's a cut and paste thing. Just make sure you copy this up here clearly, so that it is done right. Enough space, no backspace. Select this, and then just copy for your reference. And then the next function, basically, it's you add another target, and this would be SNS target. So a topic will be sending a topic. You can just say, HS, that topic that we created with SNS. Again, the configuration input, hit JSON, same volume, and we hit configuration detail. Just give a name. I would just say CW HS Lambda. I'm just giving name. You can do whatever name you like. Hit create rule. Okay, so we created a rule. You can see this function is created. We just triggered this function. The first is, Lambda. It will trigger interval, 1 minute interval volume, and then the next one is send an email to my email address, and it's enabled right now. Okay, so we're good here. We're just gonna go back to, as you can see, I created a volume. Right now we don't have anything in our, I would say, snapshot. It's empty. So what we're gonna do is now, if we refresh this, this should actually attach a trigger CloudWatch event. So let's check it out. All right, so you can see there's a CloudWatch event that got added. This is the same thing that we just did, like CloudHS. You click on it, it will show you what was done, detail a little bit. Take schedule expression rate is 1 minute, which is what we defined. All right, just make sure this is all set. So let me explain this again one more time. Take 1 minute interval snapshots for a volume created by EC2 using serverless Lambda function in EC2 using. Okay, so first thing we did SN topic, SQS topic, and then join SQS to SNS. Created a Lambda function. We actually added the code, and then create a volume. Take the copy the name of the volume, and start creating CloudWatch trigger. And then basically on the Lambda, make sure you hit deploy. This is important because if you don't hit deploy, it's not going to work. So come here to Lambda function, and then you hit publish. You can do that as well. You want to make sure you can test it as well. Okay. Over here, you just hit deploy, and that's it. I think if everything is done correctly, actually you should get an error message if it's not done correctly. But so I think this is done. All you need to do is go back to your EC2. First, we'll see if we got any email coming through. Yeah, we as you can see, we got 3 messages coming in so far, and it's just same. I didn't put anything in the title, so it's just coming in that way. It will continue to deploy messages as we can see. In the meantime, we'll just go quickly check our snapshot if it's created anything. There you go. We got one snapshot taken from that volume that we created, 804.25. So 805.25, we should get another one. All right, 805, and then just want to make sure that All right, so there should be one more coming. I think it's after 25. And if I refresh, it should open up another snapshot. So there you go. We got exercise completed, a quick lap within 30 minutes. I think we're still 3 minutes shy from 30 minutes. So that's pretty much it. What you did was you basically created everything. I recap it. One thing that I always do is to clean up the lab. If it's not free, it's going to cost you, because every 1 minute it's going to start making these 20 gig snapshots off the volume. So fastest way is to go back here, go to your function for Lambda, select your Lambda and delete, and that will stop everything. So at least that there's nothing coming through. And go back to your snapshot, I believe. Okay, good. So it did not delete in. So go ahead, hit delete. Go to your volume, hit delete again, and it should go away. Yeah, there you go. So just close this. SNS, we're still in 3 minutes, so 30 minutes. Just gonna go ahead and clean up for a quick review. If you have any other questions, please feel free to message me. You all have my WhatsApp, and you also have my email. Just message me if you have any requests for me to do a lab. I should be able to get you the lab. Hopefully you will like this lab. Then please don't hesitate to subscribe and like. I'm not doing this for money. It's nothing to do with the monetarily, but it's just that I enjoy doing this for sure. Um, I am going to clean up this in the meantime. I thank you for watching this with me, and I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you. Bye.